Yeah, sure. Well, thanks everybody for listening in. This is our first podcast, so Eve and I are very, very excited. I'll tell you a little bit about myself and how we kind of got together. So I've been a business owner for as long as I can remember, and as a woman in business, it's tough, and we need to have solid relationships both with other women as well as with men. I come from a corporate background. I actually was with IBM for about 7 years, as well as Young and Rubicam, so very large companies. So I've worked on both sides, both being a business owner, running an agency for the last 12 years, a social media and PR agency, as well as coming from a corporate background. So these days I do keynote speaking, I train companies in social media, and I work one-on-one with executives, helping them to identify and build their brands online.
Great. Well, Jasmine, you came with a massive amount of experience. My background is I started a business with my husband about 12 to 13 years ago. We have a team of 9 professionals that we focus mostly on traditional and digital marketing. Traditional in the ways of print pieces, and then we also do websites, and we market websites too. And so we were both out there looking to start a relationship and some strategic alliance that would allow our businesses to grow. And we found each other.
Right, we found each other, and I'd like to give a little backdrop to that story. I think Eve and I, right, we're in the same place. We're kind of looking out there, both internally and externally, trying to find support. We've both been in business, owner or in business for 12, 15 years, right?
Yeah.
And we came to the ceiling where we realized that we don't want to be in our businesses, right? We want to be more out there and educating people, right? So we decided to kind of look outwards and see if we could find support out there. And one of the reasons we're doing this podcast is the person that actually introduced us is a man who is a colleague of both of ours. That we didn't know each other, who said, you know what, these are both 2 strong women that have successful backgrounds. To make them even greater, why don't they join forces? And it's been great. It's been hard work and getting to know each other, but I think this is why we're here today.
Yeah, and I'm a big believer that there are many people out there, women and men, that are struggling through the same things.
Absolutely.
And that's why we're here today, is to talk about issues that happen every day in business. And so we talked a little bit about our intro name, which is The Art of Business Relationships.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that we let you know as listeners why we picked that subject. And so we really based it off of what's happening in today's politics. And here in the US, where we both live, and we are both from New York State, and we both currently live in New York State, but we have realised that there's this terrible divide between men and women, and it's shown in the bickering that's been happening between the 2 candidates for the US presidency, and we wanted to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think, I just overhear people, right, in my personal life talking about politics, and then I try to get involved, and at the same time step away from, discussions on politics when it comes to business, right? And, it's like a Maury Povich show these days. I think it's hilarious, or Jerry Springer, or whatever the hell you want to call it, right? It's like they're fighting like cats and dogs.
Absolutely.
And it's comical, but what is that saying about our country? We kind of look like a joke, and we look like we're divided.
And we're not divided.
And we're not.
As a people.
Yeah.
As a people, we're not divided. We work together. We know how to be friends, and we are very good at working through positive outcomes. And that's what this is all about, is outcomes. When you have relationships with people, what's the outcome? And we want to be in business, being able to work through lots of different scenarios. So we're going to, throughout the topics of all of these shows that we're going to produce, is we're going to pick different issues, different topics, and we're going to target them, we're going to talk about them. So today, we're going to talk about men and women in the workplace, and how they coordinate and work together to bring the best outcome, and how they work with each other. So definitely how they complement each other.
Right, how they complement. And, before our first show today, we're talking a little bit about this, and why is there such, why are we even doing this, right? And why is this an issue, or maybe it's a challenge? And I always say, since I started a business, and all the entrepreneurs that are out there listening will definitely agree that I see the challenge as an opportunity. But there's this challenge because, scientifically speaking, men and women's brains are completely different. men are linear, they go from A to B, and women go from A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all the way to Z in the way that they problem solve. So when you have men and women working together, you have one person going in one quick direction and another person thinking through the process, right? So that could be seen as possibly troubling. However, men and women can really, really help each other get through problems and think outside the box. So just in our own experiences, Eve and I were kind of talking before the show, if we didn't have help from men and men didn't have help from us, we couldn't grow in our businesses.
Yeah.
It's really, really important that you actually have both brains thinking to think through complex problems, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have a couple of linear thoughts that I have been working on as business strategies to be able to create new markets for our own business. We've been working with traditional, we've been working with digital, and we've also been working towards a product so that we can license that product and money, there's a stream of revenue coming into our business that we're not necessarily working for, but we've done all that background work. It has been such a challenge as a woman to stay on course because every single time we have a client that picks up one of our product lines, I think, oh wow, let's go in that direction, let's go that tandem. And my husband has always been saying, as my business partner, has always said, keep to the track, let's stay to the plan, let's stay to the strategy. And I feel as though we've complemented each other in that way. How does that work in corporate business, and what is your experience in corporate business relationships?
Well, you know, it's funny, back when I was with IBM, I was a director of sales, and one of this was very, very early on in my career, and even at that point, I kind of identified and recognized that men and women work differently together. So part of my job was to kind of work and nurture my people based on their personalities and how they worked, right? So, you know, sales compensation, let's just take that, right? Men in professional services and men in corporate, right, tend to do a much better job historically in corporate sales than women. Why? Because of the drivers, right? So the drivers for a man are very quantitative, right? They're very linear focused. Okay, I have to make $50,000 this month in quota. I'm going to hit that goal, and I can push out, like you were saying, any thoughts or opportunities that don't meet that specific goal. Whereas a woman doesn't really feel as passionate about the money as they do for maybe some more intangible benefits, right? Like, you're doing a great job, you're part of a team, we're going to elevate you, right? Or promote you based on your performance. Those are more types of benefits that a woman looks for versus a man. So just in that alone, in managing men and women, very, very different as a manager or employer or a hiring director, how you have to treat those folks.
So you're saying that women have more of an emotional track, whereas men have drivers that are probably more financial. Is that?
Absolutely, and I think, you know, it goes back to, you know, the caveman days.
Yeah.
If you really think about it, and I think it's the way that
the nurturer and the hunter.
Right, and exactly.
Yeah.
And it's the way society's actually been set up since the beginning, and this is why I'm really honestly very excited to be on this podcast, because, you know, I've seen the shift in what's expected of women, right? So now we're in a place where we're expected to be more like men, and men are expected actually to be more like women, with more men actually staying at home and more women making more money. Our society right now, I feel, is at a very sensitive time when it comes to men and women working together. And so I think we might, at this time, even create a whole new generation, a whole new way of how men and women work together based on the evolution of men and women in the first place.
So you find